Yes, we can hear you.
Who was that?
Great, thank you very much.
Hi, this is Simon J from the Rezoning Center. Can you hear me also?
Yes, Simon, we can hear you.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's,
There's a few missing, but
okay. Well, I'm just going to move along. I think we've got folks who want to speak tonight. And so I'm going to call the public hearing of Tuesday, April 13th to order. Council, for the purposes of confirming quorum, please make sure your video is turned on as much as possible. And please let us know if you're going to leave the meeting. This meeting is convened under the emergency order M192, and so we're all participating remotely. If our connections are lost at any point, we'll suspend and get you back online. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream and YouTube link, which is tweeted out at Van City Clerk on Twitter. And you'll see videos of council members, presentations, amendments, and vote results. Lastly, speakers can't come into the chambers because of the provincial health officer order. And so folks will be calling in and we'll be helping where we can. Clerks, can we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Stewart in the chair, Councillor Carr,
Here.
Councillor DiGenova.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Fry,
Here.
Councillor Swanson,
Here.
Councillor Hardwick,
Present.
Councillor Wiebe,
Present.
Councillor Boyle,
Present.
Councillor Dominato, not on the call. Councillor Bly, also not on the call. Councillor Kirby-Young, also not on the call. You have quorum, Mayor Stewart.
Thanks very much. Of course, we acknowledge we're on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and thank them for their generosity to all who live on their lands. We also, of course, as always, thank the staff who are doing everything they can through COVID-19 and in other times when we're not in pandemic. So thanks very much to staff. Just so speakers know, you have 5 minutes to make your comments, and you should limit your comments to the merits of the report being considered. State whether you support or oppose the recommendations and whether or not you're a resident of Vancouver. Speakers should can speak only once and should go to @VanCityClerk at Twitter to track the progress of the meeting so you don't miss your turn. Any comments can be sent in on the online web forum, vancouver.ca/public-hearing-comments, and that link is also on Twitter. I just want to also say that we have a long-standing commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including utmost respect for all genders. So when addressing speakers and staff, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and will instead refer to the person by the first and last name, role, or title. Our role here tonight is to be a quasi-judicial body, meaning that council is only to consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. We can ask clarifying questions from speakers, including the applicant, or technical advice from staff, but need to save debate for after the close of the speakers list and when the report recommendations are moved. After hearing from speakers, council may approve the application in principle, refuse the application, or the third option is to refer the application to staff for further consideration. So the first item we're going to consider is miscellaneous amendments to various CD1 bylaws. I'm just wondering if any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest on this item. I don't hear anybody, so I'm going to get the clerk now to read the application and summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability to make miscellaneous amendments to the Zoning and Development Bylaw and Sign Bylaw to improve clarity, update references, correct inadvertent errors or omissions, and improve the administration of the bylaws. No correspondence has been received on this application since referral to public hearing and prior to the close of the speakers list and receipt of public comments.
Thanks. So any speakers who wish to speak to this item, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445 # to get on the list. And that number will be made available throughout the evening on live stream, Twitter, and I'll read it verbally as well. We have Simon J. from the Rezoning Center. I believe there isn't a presentation, and so unless you have opening remarks, we will just entertain questions from council to staff. Over to you, Simon J.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So we have a verbal presentation prepared, but we are willing to waive it.
Okay. Does anybody wish to?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. As long as everybody's okay with that, we'll just move on to ask questions. Any councillors wish to ask questions on this? I don't see anybody on the list. So now we're gonna, just gonna double check here, gonna hear from the public. We don't have anyone. I think the latest list I have, we don't have anyone here to speak to this item. So let me just double check. Nope. So I am gonna call a first time for speakers. 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445 to get on the list. And that's the first call. Clerks, do we have anybody on the list for this item? Okay.
No
I have it
speakers,
open.
Mayor.
Thanks. I just wanted to point out that we have, not everyone has their video off. So councillors are supposed to have their videos on, but I do see clerks, if you could just, if you might point that out, if people pop on, just to keep presence equal for everyone. Second call for speakers on this item, 1-833-353-8610. The code is on the live stream and on Twitter. Second time, clerks. Anybody there?
No speakers, Mayor.
Thanks very much. Third time then, the number and information is on the live stream on Twitter, and we will give 5 minutes for folks to call in. So it's 6:07 p.m. Council. We'll take a break until 6:12 to come back to hear any speakers and then to make debate decisions. So thanks. We'll see you at 6:12. City Council, so we'll call a vote on this item.
Mayor, could I get a vote assist in favor, please? It's Councilor
Sure
Dominato.
Councilor Domino, yep,
And point of privilege?
yep, go ahead,
Yes.
Councilor.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. If I could get a vote assist in favor as well, thank you.
Okay, great, Councilor Fry. Councilor Fry? I don't see Councilor Fry's camera's on, but he's not on screen. Perhaps somebody could text him, otherwise we kind of have to pause the voting. Thanks. There we go. Councilor Fry, we need your vote on this item. Thanks so much. Clerks, if you can post that, that's unanimous. Thanks, Council. We're going to move on to our next item. Okay. So item 2 is the rezoning on West 42nd Avenue. I just asking if any council members, this is the time to declare a conflict if you have one. Otherwise, the clerks will read the application and summary of correspondence. Clerks, who can't hear you, maybe you're on.
This is an application by Marcon Properties Limited to rezone 325 to 341 West 42nd Avenue from RS1 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of an 18-story residential building with a 4-story podium containing approximately 215 secured rental units, of which 20% of the residential floor area would be secured as below-market rental units, approximately 40 units. A height of 56.3 meters or 185 feet with additional height for a rooftop amenity space and a floor space ratio of 6.84 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation of the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing and prior to the close of the speakers list and receipt of public comments. One piece of correspondence in opposition and one piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 4 p.m. today.
Thank you so much. If anybody wishes to speak to this item, it's 1-833-353-8610, 106-1445 to get on the list. We have Tess Monroe from the Rezoning Center. Tess Monroe, please go ahead.
Just making sure that you can hear me.
Sure can.
Great. So good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tess Monroe, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application. This rezoning application is being considered under the Canby Corridor Plan. The site shown to outline in red is comprised of 3 RS-zoned lots. It is located on the north side of West 42nd Avenue between Alberta and Columbia Streets. It is currently developed with 3 detached houses that are occupied by the current owners. They are not deemed to have any heritage value. This site is located in an area undergoing significant change as part of the Canby Corridor Plan and the Oak Ridge Town Center, with numerous developments under consideration or approved as shown in purple. Heights in the area range from 6 to 27 stories. Directly to the east along 42nd Avenue, 4-story residential buildings with one additional tower up to 18 stories are permitted. Across the lane to the north, 2 towers with heights up to 10 and 15 stories are permitted. Council recently approved a rezoning application for an 18-story building to the west along 42nd Avenue as shown outlined in blue. This proposal is being considered under the same rezoning policy. The site is well served by transit, with the site being less than a 5-minute walk from the Oak Ridge 41st SkyTrain station, as well as major bus routes along 41st Avenue. The site is located within the catchment of Van Horn Elementary School, located approximately 2 blocks east of the site, and within the catchment of Eric Hamber Secondary School, located approximately 1.4 kilometers northwest of the site. Several bikeways are also in close proximity, as shown by the dotted lines on this map, and Columbia Park is directly across 42nd Avenue to the south. This proposal is being considered under the Canby Corridor Plan, which was adopted in 2018 following a comprehensive three-phase planning program. Building on the opening of the Canada Line, the plan promotes transit-oriented development to meet the needs of a growing population. It introduces a strategically denser mix of housing and employment space in areas close to the stations. The subject site is located within the Oak Ridge Municipal Town Centre neighborhood, one of 17 designated municipal town centers, or MTCs, and a frequent transit development area in the Metro Vancouver Regional Growth Strategy. The Oak Ridge MTC will be a vibrant hub in the corridor that meets community, citywide, and regional needs by providing exceptional opportunities to deliver housing and jobs in a transit-oriented hub, while continuing to expand amenities and services to create a complete community. As the geographic center of the city and midpoint of the Canada Line, this area represents one of the most significant concentrations of urban uses and density in the corridor. The subject site falls under a subsection of the plan designated for high-density residential buildings off the arterial roads. These areas are intended to deliver a range of affordable housing options and create a diversity of built forms. They are also intended to provide improved streetscapes to connect the neighborhood to adjacent parks, shops, and services within the MTC. Residential buildings up to 4 stories are permitted, with increased height and density considered for the delivery of affordable housing, provided that either 100% of the residential floor area is secured rental housing, with a minimum of 20% of the floor area provided as below market rental, or a minimum of 30% of the residential floor area is provided as social housing. Specifically, the Canby Corridor Plan supports residential buildings up to 18 stories for this location. The supportable density is determined by analysis based on site-specific urban design and public realm performance. The plan anticipates tower-on-podium building forms with a continuous street wall and compact and slender tower to minimize shadow impacts on adjacent sites. The plan also allows for consideration of a partial floor, in addition to the 18-story height, to be used for a common rooftop amenity space if it is contiguous with outdoor amenity space. In accordance with the plan, this application proposes an 18-story residential building with a 4-story podium and a common rooftop amenity. The proposal includes 215 secured rental residential units, of which 20% of the residential floor area, approximately 40 units, will be secured at below market rates. The below market units will have rates and operating requirements in accordance with the city's Moderate Income Rental Housing Pilot Program, or MERP. A density of 6.84 FSR and a height of 56.3 meters to the top of roof parapet with an additional 4 meters for the rooftop amenity space is proposed. The common rooftop indoor amenity space is contiguous with common outdoor amenity space on the rooftop and is in addition to a smaller indoor and outdoor amenity space on level 5. The application was submitted in June of 2020, which represents an approximately 10-month review time to public hearing. Rental housing provides a more affordable housing alternative to home ownership for more than half of Vancouver's population and contributes to city initiatives, including creating diverse and sustainable communities. This application, if approved, is anticipated to deliver approximately 215 secured rental housing units, including 175 market units and approximately 40 below market rental units to the city's inventory of rental housing, which would contribute to the target set out in the Housing Vancouver strategy. While this project is not specifically considered under the MERP program, housing policies in the Canby Plan require the below-market units to have rental rates and operating requirements in accordance with that program. The moderate income units are to be rented at rates targeted to the affordability needs of moderate income households earning between $30,000 to $80,000 per year. These units would be subject to the caps on rental increases at rates set under the Provincial Residency Tenancy Act, even with a change in tenant. A virtual open house was held for this proposal from September 14th to October 4th, 2020 on the Shape Your City platform. Public input was received throughout the application process through online questions and comment forms and by email and phone. A total of 10 submissions were received. Comments received in support of the proposal generally cited the appropriateness of the building height, massing, and density, given the proximity to rapid transit and the future Oakridge redevelopment. The building design was also supported, as well as more retail units, rental units, and support for the proposed bike parking and amenities. Concerns raised through the process generally related to building height, massing, and density being too high for the area, traffic concerns in the neighborhood, and concerns about the project shadowing Columbia Park. In response to public feedback, staff notes that the proposed building complies with the Canby Corridor Plan in terms of housing tenure, building height, and density, and that parking is to be provided in accordance with the parking bylaw. As part of the application, the applicant provided a traffic study, which was reviewed for safety and additional trip generation and was supported by engineering services. Additionally, the proposed building is located to the north of Columbia Park, and no shadows are anticipated to fall on the park between the hours of 10 and 2 p.m. during the spring and fall equinox. Staff have included a rezoning condition to reduce the perceived height of the building top, and specifically with regards to the mechanical rooftop enclosure and screening, and to reduce the overall perceived tower bulk to ensure a slender and more compact form. This proposal will contribute approximately $3.6 million in development cost levies and $260,000 towards public art, and a contribution of 250 in secured rental units with approximately 40 units at below market rates towards the city's housing goals. As part of the Restart Smart Vancouver initiative in response to COVID-19, this project will contribute approximately 753 new on-site and off-site construction jobs during the initiative's recovery phase. In conclusion, this proposal is consistent with the Canby Corridor Plan, and staff support the application subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is the applicant team here to speak to the application?
Yes, we are.
Great. Did you want to present anything or just answer questions from council?
Oh, we don't have any presentation this evening, but we would be happy to address any questions as they come up.
Okay, great. Thanks. You've got a couple coming your way, or at least staff and applicant. Councillor Swanson, up to 5.
Yeah, I have one for the applicant and one for the staff. So for the applicant, will this be a pet-friendly building?
Yes, absolutely, it will be.
Okay, thanks. And for the staff, you said that the Canby plan allows increased density if a minimum of 30% of residential floor area is social housing. I'm just wondering if anybody has ever taken the city up on that in terms of 30% social housing in the Canby corridor.
At this point, we do not have any projects with that option in this area.
Okay. Are there any ways of trying to get that to happen?
The policy allows a choice, so it's up to the developer which option they would like to explore, but we are always encouraging them to explore that option as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby-Young, up to 5.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Council received one piece of correspondence from an area resident that was inquiring about whether or not any of the CACs would be able to be targeted towards improvement of the children's playground at adjacent Columbia Park, recognizing that this will likely bring additional children into the area, and asked about that generally, specifically the playground, as well as any other potential investment in upgrading Columbia Park. Can staff speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. So there is no cash CAC with this project. The provision of the below market rental is the preset affordable housing target, and is the contribution. However, there is a current initiative by the park that is looking to look at Columbia Park renewal. They are doing their first round of community engagement on the areas for improvement in summer of 2021, with the goal of upgrades to be completed in 2022. But this project will largely be funded through the utilities DCL. So it's not part of, it's identified in the Canby Corridor Public Benefit Strategy, and work is underway.
Okay, so just to reflect back, for clarity for the public, the park board has identified the playground, because I know they've had a playground renewal initiative as one of, Columbia is one of those that would benefit from renewal, and that process is happening independently of this specific project, correct?
Yes, the park is one of the aspects that they're looking at as part of the renewal for Columbia Park, as well as opportunities for supporting biodiversity and creating more welcoming park space.
Okay, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Councillor Hardwick, up to 5.
Thank you very much. Sun in my eyes, nice problem to have. Question, on page 6 of the referral report, there was a justification for the amount of height and density off an arterial. This is clearly off an arterial. How can you elaborate on how you justify that with the policy?
So it is the policy that was approved in the Canby Corridor Plan. There is multiple options that are can be explored for these sites, with 4-story strata being the base, up to 18 stories, allowing for the provision of affordable housing. So it is what is the options that have been approved in this plan.
And there's no requirement of location on an arterial in order to meet those criteria.
Hi, Councillor Hardwick. It's Cynthia Lau from the Rezoning Center. Different parts of the policy speak to on arterial and the provision of any affordable housing on arterial, but this portion of the policy is specific to off arterial sites.
18 stories on a 4-story podium. Okay, interesting. On the rent side of things, can you give me a little bit more of a definition of, again, these rents? Are these considered, I know 20% are supposed to be affordable, but are we dealing with that definition with incomes between 30 and 80,000 a year again? Is that the definition we're working with?
I just pass this question on to Alex Broskowski, who's the housing planner for this application.
Hello, this is Alexandra Brzezowski, housing planner. All the 40 units will be offered using the MERP calculation. So it would be the 30 to 80,000 spectrum for moderate income, and that would be set at studios at 950, et cetera, et cetera. So the standard.
So 20% are between $30,000 and $80,000 a year salary, and 80% are above $80,000 a year salary. Correct?
The remainder are market rental.
Market rental that one would reasonably assume would be greater than the upper threshold of the affordable component. So 80% of the building are above 80,000, and 20% of the building that's being subsidized by not having cash CACs are in the $30,000 to $80,000 annual salary range.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hardwick. Councillor Dominato, up to 5.
Thanks, Mayor. And a question for staff, just with respect to the site, the adjacent properties on both west and east of the site, have they already been acquired for redevelopment along 42nd?
At this time, we don't have any applications. When a rezoning application is submitted, that's usually when it comes forward for the public.
Okay. I was just curious if you had any knowledge of that. And feedback, can you remind me in terms of obviously we don't have a lot of speakers signed up, but just in terms of the virtual open house, how many people participated?
Yep, it's just 1 second here. So we had 73 who were aware of the application, 32 were informed, and 4 were engaged. But we did have a total of 10 comment forms that were submitted.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. There's no other counselors on the queue, so I'm going to move to the speakers list, and we have 2 speakers that I believe are on the line. Nathan Davidovich is first up.
Hello?
Hi there, up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Oh, you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Oh, okay. I wasn't quite sure. Okay. Okay, well, we have a problem here with submitting remarks to city council, because when you submit them on the city website, it goes to 311. It doesn't go to the city clerk. And by the time the 311 send it to the city clerk, it's too late to post it on the website. And then, so I don't know how many other people have submitted comments, but that's, I mean, the problem is since you took away the email to the city clerk that was public hearings email, and now we're going to have a problem here. People are still sending comments, and you don't receive them.
Thanks very much. We'll definitely look into that. We'll look into that for sure.
So as I said, I know I've submitted. Yeah, you know, so, but there's going to be continuous problems of people submitting things and you're not able to see them in time. Now, this particular application is under the Canby Corridor plan that was approved by the previous council in 2018. But I think most of the present members of council are not happy with all the proposals of this Canby Corridor plan, and it's about time to change it. If you're not happy, what's the sense of keep doing what was approved by the previous council? You know, many other councils make changes from previous councils, you know, and you know, like having an 18-story on 42nd Avenue, while there are existing 6-story building on 41st Avenue, you know, doesn't make any sense. You know, like if any independent planner will come, I mean, he will just look at that and say, well, what's the wisdom of having only 6-story building apartments on 41st and then suddenly 18-story on 42nd? How is the city going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years with all kinds of high-rises out of place in the city? The city outlook will I don't know how it is. When you take an aerial photograph, I presume you'll see it, you know, but I mean, I'm not against rental apartments. I mean, I think the city does need lots of rental apartments because that's what we are missing. But you know, me and other people, we spoke about the access to the Canada Line station, and there is no entrance from the east side of Canby Street, and here is another building with few hundred people that are going to live there that will have to cross Canby Street from east to west to get to the Canada Line station. And when everybody knows that, you know, we need an entrance on the east side, and this could be done at no cost to the city at all by converting the emergency exit on the east side to a regular entrance to the Canada line. You know, and I don't know, like page 12 of the report on transportation parking, I don't know where to start. Got this comment from Translink 10-year vision includes capacity expansion of Canada line and 18% increase in bus services, including new B line.
We're having a bit of trouble hearing you, Ms. Nathan Davidovich.
Yeah.
If you could just speak right into your microphone, that would be great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just reading the staff report on page 12 when they're talking about Translink 10-year vision and 18% increase in bus service. They must be reading the old report or whatever. This is not current. We are getting 18% decrease in service, which started yesterday on many bus routes. 75% of the bus routes in Vancouver have been cut in one way or another over the last year.
Thank you. We're at 5 minutes, but Councillor Hardwick's going to ask you a question. Go ahead, Councillor Hardwick.
Okay.
Thank you. Nathan, I know you're encyclopedic about all things transportation oriented. I recall that you've spoken to us before about the SkyTrain station, or the Canada Line station rather, at 41st and Cambie as being problematic and where the exits are taking place. I just want to make, because this is coming up several times, I want to make sure that we have a clear picture on this. Could you take a stab one more time at explaining the problem of the exit or entrance to the Canada Line from that intersection?
Yeah, well, the problem is that even right now, there's probably 5,000 people a day that cross Cambie Street from east to west. With all these new high-rise apartments being built on the east side, I would estimate there could be up to another 5,000 people. So you're looking at 10,000 people a day that will cross from east to west to a wide street of Cambie Street is very wide. You know, this is the whole thing about the Canada Line that was underbuilt with only one entrance.
Okay, I want to stick.
People.
I want to stick to the entrance specifically, and what I think.
I mean, yeah. Well, there is an emergency exit.
So it's an emergency exit, and the point is that if we're adding high rises and all this density, it's important that we be considering things like exits, and so that's going to lead me to a question that I'll bring back to staff later, but that was what I was getting at.
Yeah, well, we could convert the emergency exit into a proper entrance, and as I said, there's no cost to council because it's all be done via Translink and the developer, and the city would not contribute any money, as far as I know, to that kind of a thing. But it's a problem not just in this station. Of course, the City Hall Broadway station is the worst one because
we need to stick to this particular one right now. And I think that answers my question. I have heard you on this subject before, and I'll be asking staff if this is being taken into consideration for this and related applications. So thank you very much for speaking to us.
That's it for questions. Thanks so much for calling in. Appreciate it. I'm going to move on to the next speaker. Council, the next speaker is Tracy Moyer.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Sure can. Up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready. Please go ahead.
Hi. Can I ask staff to please pull up my PowerPoint presentation for this evening?
Okay.
And can you let me know when it's up and I can start?
I will. There we go. It's up. Please go ahead.
So thank you. Good evening, Council. Tracy Moyer speaking as Chair of Oak Ridge Langara Area Residents this evening. Next slide, please. This location is super important in our neighborhood. This site is directly across from Columbia Park, which has already been referenced a couple of times. OLAR would have preferred if the tower had been pulled back from Alberta Street, moving it to the tower east along the podium to open up the intersection of 42nd and Alberta. Both 42nd and Alberta are designated as important streets in the Canby Corridor Plan, in the public realm plan as well, and we would prefer the tower not right on the corner, but it's too late to shift it now. We are glad to hear that Columbia Park planning is beginning. We do appreciate that staff had already reached out to us to tell us that this is going to be happening. First time OLAR asked for improvements to the park was 10 years ago. We were looking to get some of the developers rezoning money to get put toward this park. Canby Corridor Phase 2, we managed to secure in that document that this park was identified for improvement, so I'm glad we're moving forward. Next slide, please. Overall, OLAR supports this project. It does provide needed rental and below rental in our market, below market rental in our neighborhood, and generally it does meet the Canby Corridor Plan. We do have a concern around the very top of the building. We're glad to hear from staff and read in the conditions of rezoning that there are requirements to try and bring down the massing of the tower. We're grateful for that. Review how the top looks, and we have a very specific request for the top of the tower. It is an 18-story tower. That's what's allowed. A 19th story is allowed if it's amenity space. That's what they've done here. However, on the very top, so I'm going to call it the 20th level, there's some screening. Fencing. I'm not even sure what you call it, but we're asking that that screening get eliminated. We certainly don't need more height or bulk on the 20th level. As it is, the 20th floor amenity floor is over height. Please don't allow this building to look taller or wider than it is at the very, very top on the 20th level. So basically the top of the 19th level. Also, this is not the first time we brought it forward at council. It's the first time to this council, but we do have a concern if in the future there might be strengthening of the screening walls and a roof added, and basically enclosing the 20th floor or 20th level to make it usable by residents. Not the first time we've complained about it. We're asking that this gets screening's not allowed also for that reason. My final slide is around housekeeping. So I'm sorry, but it's my first time I have to roll back time if you'll grant me that privilege. Going back to the March 9th public hearing regarding 5900 block Canby rezoning, we just want to share OLAR's anger and disappointment with the disrespectful and dismissive tone and words of the referral report and the staff presentation. Public realm does exist at the rear of that project on Canby.
But we really are contained to just, but this is a quasi-judicial process. And so we do have to stick to the consideration of this single project at the time. So perhaps you could include this in a note to council outside of this hearing this evening.
I was hoping you would allow it, Mr. Chair, because it really does go down to integrity and trust on that project, which I had identified back in January, and we pretty much felt tweaked to the curb in March. So well, I was given the message to bring that forward today.
Okay, thanks. And again, this is following the charter. That's what I have to enforce. So I just want to, again, thanks for the vast majority of what you're doing. Talking about this project at hand is what we're constrained to this evening.
Then let's move on to the next slide, and that would be the thank you slide. So thanks for the opportunity this evening to speak and represent the neighborhood. That's my privilege, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Slides are always allowed, so I really appreciate it. Thanks. Just check and see if we have any questions from council. We do. Councillor Carr, up to 5 minutes.
Great. Thank you. And thank you very much, Tracy, for presenting and for all the years of service to the community, to your community and to the city. So regarding that, your concern around the screening on the top, I'm wondering if I'm going to read you the section out of Appendix B, which are conditions of approval for the form of development. And the first condition actually responds to, I think, your point, but I'm seeking your response on that. And it certainly responds to the urban design panel's similar concern. So this is what it states. that is a note to applicant suggested, so it's to design development to reduce the perceived height and bulk of the tower, with a note to the applicant stating suggested strategies include minimizing the rooftop mechanical screening or relocating the mechanical equipment to below grade. And I'm wondering if that is what you're seeking or if something different.
Thank you, Councillor Carr, for that. Minimizing the screening is not adequate. It really does need to be eliminated. As to whether some of the mechanical should be going below ground, we'll leave that to your engineering department to decide if that's best. But our concern is visual. We don't want to see any type of screening. So not just minimizing, but actual elimination of it. All we can see from the drawings is that it seems to be covering the elevator shaft, I guess, like the top of the building that houses the elevator equipment, and probably some vents, but of course it's hard to see because it's screened. But we're looking for a complete elimination of the screening around the
I'll ask staff
bulk of the
about that,
building.
but I'm assuming that relocating the mechanical equipment to below grade might achieve that. But I'll ask staff that question. And it is a suggestion right now, but I'm hearing that that you have a very strong preference to not just minimize that screening, but to eliminate. So I will follow up with staff on that.
We would prefer some stronger teeth put to that if possible.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hardwick, up to 5.
Great, thank you very much. And Tracy, thank you for joining us this evening. Couple questions. The last speaker talked and had that the earlier in March public hearing that we last heard you at. He'd spoken as well about exit access to the Canada line and the implications for residents getting to and from there, especially as we're contemplating significant density. I know you know the area very intimately. Do you also see an issue around for buildings in this area as far as the Canada line exits go?
Yes, we've been following this for years. Thank you, Councillor Hardwick, for bringing this forward. We have been saying from, I don't know how long ago, it's not just about how many cars you run and how fast you run them on the Canada line, how long the platform's extended. The biggest issue we understand from a safety point of view is ingress and egress. We also understand that's the most expensive part of the Canada line system in terms of changes, or I guess any subway system. Thanks to our efforts, we understand a second entrance exit will be part of the redevelopment on the northwest corner of 41st and Cambie. We asked for that at the time of the Oakridge Mall previous rezoning, not the current one. In terms of emergency exits, right now there is an emergency exit on Cambie Street, east side, in front of the 57800 block building, that Cambie building that was before you, I believe, in January, when this emergency exit was first brought up by Nathan. And we haven't heard anything as to if that's going to be staying put, moving. If so, where does it move to? And we can certainly appreciate it's complicated because it's not just city, it's also private property potentially, and also it's TransLink. So we definitely know there's going to be a crushing amount of additional capacity that we don't understand is even going to fit on the Canada line because it's crushed at times at rush hours pre-pandemic. We worry about this for years. No one seems to listen other than giving us a second entrance on that northwest corner. But absolutely, some resources have to be put to this. And that includes the entrance.
You've identified.
How do we have the emergency exit and entrance?
Okay, the other question that I had before I run out of time is the fact that this is often arterial. I heard staff's rationalization for that. Do you have any comments on it?
Yeah, I was thinking hard when I was listening to that, and my personal suggestion is it would be really helpful, given most of you are new staff, or new council this term, it would be really great if you could have a workshop led by planning staff to talk about, give you a quick summary of a Canby corridor plan. So when proposals come forward, you know generally if they're going to be in line, if they're not, what the rationales are. This particular block is designated as it is being proposed, so we don't take issue with any of the heights. The setbacks we understand are in line with the Canby corridor plan. But we've learned we can't just rely on staff always following the guidelines because there's always this policy creep. So one project can come forward and then it gets pushed a little bit more and a little bit more. And it really shouldn't be our job as neighborhood people to always have to bring this forward. We'd like it if council could quickly catch these things and say, well, hang on, this is a little bit wider than it should be, or a little bit taller. How come you decided to place that yet? So to equip you that you guys can review it quickly, these applications, I think if you could get a workshop from staff making you really familiar with the parts of the Canby corridor as they affect rezoning applications, I think that would be a really, really good use of everyone's time.
Good suggestion. And again, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. That's it for questions. Appreciate you calling in and participating. Council, that's it for registered speakers. So I'm going to call the first time for other speakers that may be interested in this item, 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445 to get on the list, and I'll ask the clerks, is there anybody else on the line?
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to go for my second call. All the information is on the live stream and on the Twitter account, 1-833-353-8610. Clerks?
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay, third and final call, then we'll take a 5-minute break.
Mayor Stewart, it's Bryce Rossich, the architect for the project. Can I make a brief comment, please?
Yeah, we are just, thanks for asking. We are just going to close the speakers list, and then there'll be a space for you to make closing comments.
Terrific.
Okay, thanks very much. So with that, Council, it is 6:54. I've made the 3 calls for speakers, and we'll come back at 6:59 to hear closing comments and make a decision. So we'll see you in 5.
Hey, Naomi again. Can I just double
Hi, clerks. We're at 6:59. Just wondering if there's anybody else on the line.
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Great, thanks so much. So we're going to close the speakers list, and because we've had no comments since 5 o'clock, we'll close the receipt of public comments. And I'm just going to ask now if the applicants have any closing comments.
Mayor Stewart, it's Bryce Rossich, Rossich Ample Architects. Regarding the rooftop equipment, we are redesigning the building. We are simplifying the top, minimizing the impact on it. Only that equipment that is best put on the roof will be up there. Things like heat pumps, which is much more environmentally sustainable to have up on the roof than down underground in a parkade and things like that. But we are definitely reducing and minimizing the screening for the mechanical equipment at the rooftop.
Okay, thank you so much. Staff have any closing comments?
No, we don't have any closing comments. Thanks.
Okay, does council have any questions for staff? I don't see any. Oh, Councillor Swanson, go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I wonder if staff knows when we can expect the report on housing affordability in the Canby corridor.
A little bit outside the purview of this one, Councillor Swanson, but maybe the staff have a quick answer. If not, maybe they can be sent to us by email outside of the public hearing. Staff, any?
Staff are working on these issues and a report which will be forthcoming to council, and we can send further information by email.
Okay.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Swanson. Okay, thanks. Councillor Hardwick, up to 5.
I'll probably get a similar answer to my question. Given the questions about this and other buildings that we've been approving in the immediate area in the vicinity of 41st and Canby, are you taking into consideration or working with engineering, transportation engineering, to ensure that there are sufficient exits and entrances, ingress and egress from the Canada line to accommodate this big influx of density into the immediate area?
I think that's allowable. Staff?
Yes, staff are working with engineering on these questions.
Well, so very specifically, ingress and egress at this intersection with respect to the Canada line, very specifically, because I can get more information and from the speakers that we've heard and forward it or ask that be delivered to council. Can you give me a little bit more than just a general statement?
With each application that comes through, it's reviewed with our engineering staff, and they review a number of items, including to ensure that access to the sites are possible, along with any impacts to traffic.
Okay, it's a tad on the vague side, so I'll take this up with the general manager of engineering.
Sure.
Please note. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Councillor Weeb, up to 5.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when staff do perform us on these type of buildings and we recognize that 20% are MERC, do we ever look at the performa to see if we can achieve more than 20%? Is that a baseline, or is that just consistent and we don't ask for more if the performa seems like there's an ability to bring it to 25 or 30%?
Under the Canby Corridor plan in this area, this is a preset affordability housing target. So there is no pro forma review done for these sites. For other sites where on the arterials, there may be that if we go through a negotiated CAC, but these are the preset affordable housing targets for this area.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Weeb. Councillor Kirby-Young, up to 5.
Yeah, thanks, Maris. If there's seeing no one else on the queue, I'm happy to move the recommendations.
Okay, yep, there is nobody else on the queue, so thanks so much for moving that. Do we have a seconder?
Boyle. Second.
Okay, I have Councillor Boyle second, so I've moved us over to the debate queue. Councillor Kirby-Young, go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I am going to support this project. I have consistently supported the addition of new purpose-built rental housing because I think that we continue to have a need and will continue to have a need in the city. I am pleased to see that we will have 20% of those units below market. So studios starting at $950 and 1-bedrooms at $1,200. It's also pet friendly. So a lot of things that we're hearing that people are looking for and need in terms of stability of housing. I also I'm glad to hear from staff that the consultation process will be underway this year with respect to improvements at Columbia Park. That's really critical. I mean, we've seen even more so during the pandemic in terms of having those amenities close by, particularly as people do live in multifamily housing. And that paradigm is changing from people having their own backyard. So I'm going to be following that process consistently. And I think that that's important. And also offline with respect to sort of safety and pedestrian flow in and out of Oak Ridge, because I do think that there's a bigger need there that we're hearing through multiple projects with respect to making sure that increased number of neighbors in the area can safely move back and forth, and that, you know, consistent with our transportation hierarchy, we're always keeping pedestrians sort of at the top of that pyramid and top of mind to ensure that they can travel safely between A and B. But it is new rental housing, which I'm glad to see. It is consistent with the Canby Corridor Plan. I did appreciate the comments from Tracy from the Local Residents Association with respect to the equipment on the roof and the follow-up response from the applicant with in terms of putting what could be put underground, but some of that equipment that's sort of from a sustainability perspective that would need to remain there. Because these are important considerations in terms of sort of the livability and aesthetics for the neighborhood. So all of that said, I will support the project. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Councillor Carr, up to 5.
Yes, thank you. I also very much want to appreciate the speakers coming to address this rezoning. And particularly, the meaningfulness to me of Tracy Moyer as the chair of the Oak Ridge Langara area residents, stating that that there are various elements of this that they are very appreciative of and support. To just reiterate her statements, how they are happy that the park planning is beginning. They like the increased rental, and they have determined that it does meet the Canby Corridor Plan. Those are important statements for me in my consideration of how I will vote on this. In terms of the actual concern around the massing and the top of the tower, I appreciate every effort that the applicant will make to move whatever can be moved off the roof and to very much minimize the appearance of massing on the top through measures in the screening, etc. So I'm happy with those features. I just want to note for council, most of you were not on council at the time when the Canby Corridor Phase 3 plan, which includes the Oak Ridge Town Center, was passed. But what was the most interesting part of that process to me was, in fact, a meeting that was held by the Oak Ridge Langara area residents, in which they actually asked staff to consider increasing the height and density of development around the Oak Ridge Town Center. That often doesn't happen around residential neighborhoods, but they were very much supportive of that. And of course, the heights with 18 stories is being met by this project. But I very much, as I say, always appreciate hearing from them at the time of any application. So given that, I will be supporting. Thanks very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Swanson, up to 5.
Yeah, so I'm just going to keep on with the push for affordability. When you look at the FSR increase here, the density increase, it's not double or triple or quadruple. It's about 9 times the density increase that we're giving this developer And what are we getting in exchange? We're getting the 20% MERP. If we didn't have that option in the Canby Corridor Plan, what if we just had the 30% social housing option? Could we get more social housing? I'm really afraid that by the time we get the report on housing affordability in the Canby Corridor, the whole corridor will be rezoned to have expensive rental and condos mostly. So just as an attempt to push yet again for more affordability, I'm going to be voting against this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Swanson. Councillor Hardwick?
Thank you. And similar to Councillor Swanson, I'm concerned about this project as part of the MERP program generally. I think it's a flawed policy that we're following. I am concerned every time I hear an application that refers to the Housing Vancouver targets as its justification. In my view, every time we make a decision based on flawed policy, the decision is fundamentally flawed by definition. So I continue to call for a review of the Housing Vancouver strategy based on data, and it'll be a year next month in May that I first brought the motion forward on this subject. So I see this particular application as being flawed because of the flawed policy. That said, in deference to the architect who I hold in high regard and admiration, I will likely abstain rather than voting against this particular application. But I do think that the more we keep approving things without revisiting them, especially in light of the profound changes that are before us, that we're making a mistake. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Weeb?
I'm a little concerned that we aren't getting enough of the land lift to deliver the amenities in the area. I know the affordable housing is great on this project, but the Little Mound to Big River connection that goes about a couple blocks from here, and some of the other projects, I'm not sure we're getting the funding, and we just saw that with the Fraser River and the projects and the difficulty to make the amenities meet the promises that have been put forward in these plans. However, I do like the affordable rental, and I think the design of the building is going to fit, and I do appreciate that it is meeting the plan as well as the neighborhood association, so we'll be voting in support.
Okay, thank you so much. Councillor Carr, 3 minutes.
Yes, I have a little bit of time left. Thank you, Mayor. I just was motivated to put myself back on the list in response to the comments made by Councillor Swanson, and what the trade-off is in terms of going with social housing versus a MERP project. I think, as all council knows, when you talk about 30% of a building being social housing, only a third of the units of that 30%, only a third, have to be rented to people at the housing income limits level. So that's way fewer units than the 20% MERP units. And all 20% of the MERP units have to be at 30% of people's income, the real definition of social housing. I mean, when I talk to people in the city about what those levels are and say it's $950 for a studio a month. 1 bedrooms are $1,200. 2 bedrooms are $1,600. 3 bedrooms are $2,000. They are amazed. Those kinds of rent levels are just not very common. And the housing is vacancy controlled. I mean, that is I think the most compelling part of the MERP program is really those rents, 20% of the floor area, and vacancy control. And you cannot compare that, in my mind, to 30% social housing, only a third of which is at housing income limits. So just to make sure everybody's clear about the choice here in terms of what you are seeking in terms of affordable housing.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. That's it for council speakers on the list, so we'll call a vote. Anybody need vote assist? Councilor Dejanova?
Thanks, please. Thanks. I was on mute. My apologies, double muted there. Mayor Stewart, if I could please have a vote assist in favor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Council, the votes are in, and that has passed with Councilor Swanson in opposition. Thank you so much. Council, I forgot, staff have requested just to clean their space and stuff for COVID safety. We need to take 5 minutes in between items. So it's 7:14 now. Let's come back at 7:20 and then start item number 3. Thank you. Hi, clerks. Is everything ready to go?
Yes, we're ready, Mayor.
Great, thanks very much. Okay, council, we're moving to item number 3, which is the CD1 rezoning of West 28th Avenue. If anybody wants to declare a conflict of interest, this is the time. And now we'll get the clerk to read the application and summary of correspondence.
This is an application by Giant Union Design Architecture and Planning Limited to rezone 485 West 28th Avenue from RS1 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 6-story residential building containing 27 strata-titled units, a height of 21 meters, with additional height for a rooftop amenity space and a floor space ratio of 2.54 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation on the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing and prior to the close of the speakers list and receipt of public comments. 5 pieces of correspondence in opposition and 3 pieces of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 4 p.m. today.
Thank you so much. Let's see. There's speakers who want to speak to this item, 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445 to get on the list. We have Joseph Tohill from the Rezoning Center to present the application.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Joseph Tohill, and I am the rezoning planner for this application at 485 West 28th Avenue. Before I begin, I first just want to confirm that you can see my slides and hear my voice.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
The site is outlined in red on this map and is one lot zoned RS1. It is located on the southeast corner of Cambie and West 28th Avenue in the Queen Elizabeth neighborhood, approximately 3 blocks south of the King Edward Canada Line station. In recent years, numerous rezoning applications have been approved in the area, with buildings ranging in height from 3 to 6 stories. These CD1 zones are outlined in purple on the map. The lot is currently developed with a single dwelling unit and a laneway house, each of which contain rental units. As this application proposes redevelopment of one legal lot, the tenant relocation and protection policy does not apply. A number of neighborhood amenities are located within a 15-minute walk of the site. The site is well served by public transit, with the King Edward Canada Line station and bus service on King Edward Avenue, located 300 meters to the south, and bus service on Cambie Street directly in front of the site. Queen Elizabeth Park and Hillcrest Park are located within 200 meters to the south and the southeast, respectively. Hillcrest Community Center and the Terry Salmon branch of the Vancouver Public Library are located approximately 600 meters to the southeast. Childcare for both preschool and school-aged children are located within a 15-minute walk. And the site is located within what the Vancouver School Board refers to as the South Hamber Study Area, which contains 5 elementary schools. Nearby high schools include Eric Hamber Secondary School and Tupper Secondary School. Surplus capacity is anticipated amongst the schools in the South Hamber Study Area in 2027. This proposal is being considered under the Cambie Corridor Plan, which was adopted in 2018 following a comprehensive 3-phase planning program. The intent of the plan is to guide and enable change while focusing on providing a range of housing types and affordability levels, including market residential developments such as the application before you today. The site is located within the Queen Elizabeth neighborhood under the Cambie Corridor Plan. At this location shown in red on the map, residential buildings up to 8 stories in height can be considered, with an additional partial story at the roof level for common amenity space. A density range of between 2.0 and 2.5 FSR is suggested under the plan, which is provided as an estimate based on intended urban design performance. The development potential for each site may fall within, at, or above the FSR range provided under the plan. This application was received on June 8th of 2020. It responds to direction provided under the plan with a proposal for rezoning from RS1 to CD1 to permit the development of a 6-story strata residential building with an FSR of 2.54. A building height of 21 meters is proposed for the residential portion of the building and up to 24 meters for the portion of the building with the rooftop amenity space. 27 strata titled residential units are proposed, and nearly 50% of units have 2 or more bedrooms and are suitable for families with children, which exceeds the 35% minimum under the city's family unit mix policy. A pre-application open house was waived for this application due to COVID-19. However, following application submission, a city-led virtual open house was held over a 3-week period in September and October of 2020. The application drawings and details were made available online following application submission, along with the contact information for the applicant team and staff. A comment form was provided to enable easy submission of comments on this proposal. During the virtual open house period, 75 unique visitors viewed the page, with 31 viewing multiple documents and 8 engaged individuals who submitted comment forms or questions. In total, we received approximately 15 pieces of feedback that provided comments both in support and comments with concerns about some aspects of the proposal. Key themes of support include support with the proposed height, density, massing, and fit within the neighborhood context. Key concerns included concerns with the overall building height, the density, massing, and fit with the neighborhood context, with specific concern over the inclusion of a rooftop amenity space. Other concerns included concerns that the building design seems uninspiring and concerns with the proposed removal of 3 large on-site trees fronting Cambie Street. In response to these public comments received, staff reviewed the proposal against the built form guidelines under the Cambie Corridor Plan. Staff note that the proposal is consistent with direction under the plan in terms of height, density, and massing, and that inclusion of a rooftop amenity space is supportable under the plan. Additional review of the proposed architecture will be performed at the development permit stage. Staff have reviewed the proposed tree removal in accordance with the Protection of Trees bylaw, the Urban Forest Strategy, and the Public Realm Guidelines under the Cambie Corridor Plan. Following this review, it was determined that future sidewalk widening and accessibility improvements for Cambie Street as a complete street under the plan would involve excavation that would render the on-site trees unviable. Staff note that the applicant has proposed 8 street trees and 7 on-site trees. Additionally, staff have included a rezoning condition that proposes the inclusion of large-size replacement trees where possible. This application generates approximately $1.9 million in community amenity contributions to be allocated to the public benefits outlined under the Cambie Corridor Public Benefit Strategy. Development cost levies of approximately $740,000 would be anticipated. As a part of Restart Smart Vancouver, initiated in response to COVID-19, this project would contribute 95 new on-site and off-site construction jobs during the initiative's recovery phase. In summary, this proposal meets the intent of the Cambie Corridor Plan. Staff recommend this application be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you so much for that. Just checking now to see if the applicant is here.
Yes, Council, we are here.
Great. Did you want to speak to this application or just answer questions?
We'll just answer questions.
Okay, thanks so much. And you're a little faint, so I'll just get you to move closer to the mic if there are any questions. Thanks. So does council have any questions to staff or the applicant? I don't see any questions, so just going to move to the hear from the public. Anybody who wants to speak to this item, please call 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445 hashtag to get on the list. And I know we have one speaker, Clerks, that has registered to speak, and that person is Naomi Steinberg.
Hello?
Hi there. Looking for Naomi
Hi.
Steinberg? Hi there.
Hi,
Yes,
can you
great.
hear me? Hi,
Okay.
great. Hi, thank you. Hello, Mayor, Council, staff, and anybody else who's at this public hearing.
My name's Naomi, and I'm fortunate to have been born on this beautiful supernatural land, territories of the Coast Salish peoples, where we of all nations are learning to live together in a good way. My home is on the west side of Cambie between 27th and 28th in what used to be my grandparents' house. They willed it should be sold when they died, and a development corporation bought it. I negotiated a lease, and for the past 4+ years have been paying rent while the property has been assembled and flipped, and now the whole block has been put on the market again. You might remember me from the December 29 budget meeting when I expressed my concerns at the lack of meaningful, artful engagement with the public realm that would build resilience and a sense of place, thus fostering respect and joy. Witnessing what is happening on the corridor is distressing, but I am not here as a complainer. I'm here as a concerned citizen and possibly as a collaborator, or perhaps you could think of me as a consultant, a resident expert on the ground. The lot currently being discussed is directly across Cambie from me, 485 West 28th. As Joseph mentioned, has 3 beautiful protected trees that will be cut if the current design goes ahead. I do want to put it in the larger neighborhood context. On the block to the north, there is a development site with 17 protected trees, trunks of more than 20 centimeters that are fated to be killed, all of them. On the west side of Cambie, also on 28th, the site currently being demolished, 528 to 593 28th Avenue, has 14 trees, of which only 1 will be retained. Why? Because the parking structure can't accommodate their roots, or as we heard from Joseph, because there's sidewalk widening happening. Distress could also be expressed about the lots on either side of Cambie at King Edward at the beginning of the boulevard, which is Vancouver's only heritage designated landscape. They propose designs that also eliminate the trees for density, and the list goes on. Given the number of rezoning, landscape, development, community planners I've interacted with for different sites on the corridor, it is clear that the city is highly fragmented, and I am aware that the lack of head planner or manager makes it even more difficult to have a cohesive overview. So do planners actually know what's happening from one block to the next, that they may be deciding the fate of the last grandfather trees in a few block radius? Everyone I have spoken to, from the Riley Park Steering Committee, to planners, to site foremen, to workers, to inspectors, has at some point used words like shameful, wasteful, greedy, confusing. I recognize the city budget needs revenue streams and that CAC and DCL are good ways to get some money. However, the irony is that some developers have found ways not only to trade trees for density, but also ways to not contribute to the community pot. I think this is very wrong. It also appears to be antithetical to Council's aspirations to be a green city or to restore the urban forest. Again, we heard that from Joseph. There are not very many old trees left, and each one gone leaves a huge hole in the skyline, not to mention loss of habitat, shade, water absorption, and oxygen creation. Trees in planter boxes do not replace 150-year-old Doug firs. After the past few summers of bad air quality and the ongoing pandemic, we need trees, green spaces, and a vibrant public realm to support healthy communities. I've attended webinars hosted either by the city or SFU regarding housing or an equitable restart to the economy, and most statistics agree, condominiums and high-end townhouses do not respond to the city's housing crisis. Existing family houses might be better suited to support a vulnerable population rather than an isolating, alienating, quote, below market unit in a building. And they're not affordable. I don't know who you've been talking to, but $950 for a studio is not affordable. As you know, many houses were empty or neglected for years and are now derelict. The permitting process is slow, and there could be cost saving if the system were streamlined. Some projects really should be approved much quicker for the benefit of all. However, I hope environmental reviews are never axed, and I hope the city stops trading elder trees on the rationale that parking structures can't coexist with roots. A few questions. Can numbers be crunched in a different way? For example, I wonder how to factor in incremental increases to policing, health, and mental health costs. I wonder about strain on stormwater systems, even with the current upgrades. I wonder if consideration can be given to the money saved by not creating more homelessness and more housing insecurity. Is it possible, this is a big question, is it possible to declare a moratorium on tree cutting on the Cambie corridor? It is spring, after all, and birds need places to build their nests. I hope it's not too late for the trees at 485 West 28th. Perhaps through a proper setback in trade for an extra floor, the tax revenue and CAC and DCL could help balance budgets. Something must change, yet no one knows how to make that change happen, where we could be courageously pushing together. However, just a few hours ago, today, I got confirmation of funding from TD Parks people for a third year of grassroots art, public art making called Dragon Walk. I hope that when our pop-up tea shop space for conviviality, dialogue, and discussion is open at the Public Realm Green Space at 31st and Cambie, you might come, enjoy a cup of tea, and further dream into what we don't yet even know is possible along the Cambie corridor or any of the other intense, imminent development corridors in the city like Fraser Street. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't see any questions for you. Oh, Councillor Weeb, up to 5. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the map right now. Which are the trees that you're most concerned of in this project? And I'll ask staff later on was there an ability to your attention?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Weeb. Specifically at 485 West 28th, it's the 3 tall trees right at the front of the lot on Cambie.
Those are on the actual private property. Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate you bringing this to our attention.
Cheers.
Thank you. That's it for questions. I'm going to make my first call for speakers. All the information is on the live stream and on Twitter. And clerks, do we have any additional speakers to this item?
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to make my second call, 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445 # to get on the list. And that number is tweeted out and available on live stream. Clerks, I'll do my second call. Anybody else?
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to do that. This is the third call then. All the info is on the screen to call in for with the number and the participant code. It is 7:40, so we'll take 5 minutes and come back at 7:45 to hear closing comments and make a decision. Thank you, Council.
Yeah.
Okay, clerk's just checking to see if there's anybody else that's called in.
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thanks so much. Right, so there's no additional speakers, so there's speakers list is now closed, and since we've had little correspondence after 5 p.m., we're going to close the receipt of public comments. Just ask now, does the applicant have any closing comments?
No, I just want to say that thank you, Council. You know, definitely in the next phase of this project, you know, we will focus a lot on the landscape and the surroundings to really make this project sing and not just make it another piece of the puzzle of Cambie Corridor. So thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Staff, any closing comments?
No comments at this time.
Thanks. Okay, questions to staff. Councillor Weave, up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's great to hear the proponent talked about making this project not just a piece of the puzzle and making it sing, which would mean making it a great place for songbirds. And looking at that, I'm looking at Appendix B 1.8b that says to include large size replacement trees on grade. Can you speak to that condition and what are the recommendations that we're providing the proponent?
Sure, it's Joseph Doyle from Rezoning Center. So that particular condition you're referring to, staff had included as a condition of approval in recognition of the loss of tree canopy associated with the 3 large-sized trees that are fronting Cambie Street. Staff included a condition that would propose the applicant to explore replacing those trees with other large-sized trees on the site.
And it also talks in the report that the street trees would need to be removed because of expansion of sidewalk and other public realm planning. Is there no ability for the city to work around that or find a best practice to allow for larger trees along that corridor?
So in this case, given the location of these trees located directly adjacent to the sidewalk and as well on the slope, there really isn't a way to retain the trees in order to accommodate the sidewalk widening, which would involve excavation into the slope and into the root zone of the trees. So which is why that staff had included a condition for this rezoning application, which would involve the applicant exploring replacing those trees with other large-sized trees on the site. Additionally, the applicant is including 7 on-site trees and planters on site, as well as an increase in the number of city street trees. So an additional 8 city street trees on West 28th Avenue and Cambie Street.
Okay, and last one, recognizing this is a pretty intense bird corridor, what elements do you see in this design that reflect our bird design guidelines?
As part of this particular application, the inclusion of the trees and the extensive landscaping on the site and on the roof of the site would increase the tree canopy and allow opportunities for birds. There's also a rezoning condition that directly will require the applicant to incorporate bird-friendly design in their landscaping on the site.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate the answers.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby Young, up to 5.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to be quick. Just following up on Councillor Weave's question, because we did hear the correspondence seem to focus almost exclusively on the trees. And you said there is a condition to explore replacement with larger trees. What does that mean in terms of it would be nice, explore? Like, how definitive is that in term? Because we are losing a lot of our tree canopy, and then we get the spindly kind of younger trees that have years to go before you get anything close to the same tree canopy. So can that be strengthened? Like, or is that a nice, please do it if you can? Or is this a, we strongly recommend and are not likely to approve the DP without installation of these trees?
So staff determined that it would be best to leave further design development to the development permit stage, where staff can further evaluate the landscape plan for the site in conjunction with complete street improvements along Canby Street. Given the root zone that would be necessary for a large size replacement tree and the proximity to the sidewalk, staff felt that it would be best to leave those discussions of the development permit stage where those details can be looked at closer.
Okay, so follow up on that and let me know if you're able to answer this at that development permit stage when you're better able to determine, would it be fair to say that staff would be strongly trying to fulfill the inclusion of larger trees?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Different second question on a different topic, and that really relates to recognition that in the Canby corridor, particularly between 41st and King Edward, there's no locally serving retail at all, right, in terms of access to grocery or corner store. And this one I know is closer to the Canby Village, but a few blocks up from sort of the main nucleus of it. Is there any consideration given to ground floor in terms of a local corner store or local food service or coffee shop?
Hi, Councillor. It's Cynthia Lau from the Rezoning Center. At this time, the Canby Corridor Plan doesn't include any further commercial areas other than the Canby Village or at 41st Avenue. So that was done under the review for the Canby Corridor Phase 3. So at this time, we don't have further spaces for commercial uses. However, through the Vancouver Plan, I understand that they are evaluating other opportunities.
So people that are at 28th probably have a good 10 blocks to walk down before they get to anything, unless they're going to hit the Tim Hortons on the corner of King Edward. Is that about it? That's about all that's available to them?
That's correct. It's further along Canby Street, though at King Edward is the beginning of the Canby Village. So those we expect to redevelop under the Canby Corridor Plan as well, which does encourage all of the commercial retail uses there to continue on in the future.
From King Edward North, you're referring to?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. That's it for questions. And so we need somebody to move the application.
Councillor Kirby-Young.
Thank you. Seconder.
Councillor DiGenova.
Thanks very much. We're on the comments queue. If anybody wants to speak to this item, please put yourself on the queue. I don't see anybody on the queue, so I'm going to call a vote on this item. Councillor DeGenova, do you need a vote assist? Councillor DeGenova, do you need a vote assist?
So sorry, I said it twice, but I was double muted. So yes, please, a vote assist in favor. Thank you.
Councillor Bly. Councillor Bly.
Sorry, Mayor, it's double muted. In favor.
Okay. In favor? Yep. Thanks very much. I'll get the clerks to mark that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Council, that has passed with Councillors Swanson and Hardwick in opposition. Okay, we're on to our final item of the evening, council. We're just gonna give staff a few minutes to resituate themselves. And okay, council, we're gonna start this item now. First, I'll ask if any member wishes to declare a conflict of interest on 1698 West Georgia Street. Okay, barring none, we'll move on to the clerk reading the application and summary of correspondence.
This is an application by Anthem Properties to rezone 1616 to 1698 West Georgia Street from RM6 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 33-story residential building containing a 127 strata-titled units. A height of 99.3 meters and a floor space ratio of 9.39 are proposed. The General Manager of Urban Design and Sustainability Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation in the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing and prior to the close of the speakers list and receipt of public comments. 17 pieces of correspondence in support, 1 piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 4 p.m. today.
All right, thank you so much. Right, so staff, first of all, if there's any speakers to this item, 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445 to get on the list. We have Lefka Vissers from the Rezoning Center. There are speakers, so we should see the presentation, and I believe the applicant team also has a presentation council. So go ahead, Lefka Vissers. Lefka, I think. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. And can you see my presentation?
We can see it on both screens. Yep, that's fine.
Perfect.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lefka Vissers, rezoning planner for the application at 1616 to 1698 West Georgia Street. This site is located in the West End on the south side of Georgia Street between Bildwell and Cordero. The site is currently zoned RM6. The site has a frontage of 44 meters along Georgia and Alberni Streets and is 33.9 meters deep with a slope of approximately 3 meters from Alberni Street to Georgia. A gas station and convenience store were formerly located at 1698 West Georgia Street, which is now vacant, occupied by a temporary dog park. To the east is a rezoning application for 2 towers at 1608 to 1616 West Georgia Street. To the south are rezoning applications for 2 385-foot residential towers, and to the west is a rezoning application for 2 residential towers. The site is located a 5-minute walk from Stanley Park, 5 minutes from Marina Square Park, 6 minutes from the West End Community Center and Joe Forte's libraries, a 6-minute walk from the Cole Harbour Community Center and future Cole Harbour School, and less than a 5-minute walk to Whole Foods and Safeway. The site is located in the Georgia corridor of the West End Plan. The West End Plan identifies this area and the Burrard corridor generally as newer areas of the community, well served by transit and keen for development. While some areas of the West End envision in-kind amenities such as non-profit office space and percentage of housing as affordable, in this case, cash CACs are identified in the Georgia corridor, which are intended to help fund benefits throughout the West End. The site falls within Area A of the Georgia corridor. Within Area A, small floor plates of 5,500 square feet may be considered, with building heights up to 385 feet, subject to urban design performance. The height of this proposed building is limited by shadowing on Marina Square Park. The West End Tower Form, Siting, and Setbacks Bulletin recommends a 80-foot separation between the proposed tower and existing and future towers on adjacent sites. This application meets floor plate, height, and tower separation requirements. The West End Public Benefits Strategy identifies public benefits and infrastructure to support growth. This includes community and civic facilities, parks and open space, childcare, transportation, affordable housing, and heritage retention. Cash CACs, specifically, such as that proposed by the applicant, can be directed to benefits for which there is no on-site development and which can therefore not be delivered in kind. Specifically in the West End, this includes the West End Community Centre Complex, Vancouver Aquatic Centre, and Area Fire Hall redevelopment, the Robson Alberni Public Space Improvement Project, and future phases of the Davie Village Public Space Improvement Project, the construction of a 69-space childcare facility, and new school-age care at the West End Community Centre, new and expanded childcare in elementary schools, the Georgia Gateway Complete Street Project, the Butte Street Greenway, and the Comox-Helmken Greenway Extension, as well as funds for the Affordable Housing Reserve and cash CACs to be allocated to the Heritage Conservation Reserve. In accordance with the West End Plan, this application proposes to rezone the site from the RM6 district, which currently would allow residential and commercial uses with a maximum discretionary height of 201 feet and a maximum density of 2.5 FSR, to a CD1 district. The proposed CD1 bylaw would allow for a 33-story residential tower with 127 strata-titled residential units, a maximum height of 326 feet, and a maximum density of 9.39 FSR, containing 164 vehicle parking spaces and 335 bicycle parking spaces. Of the 127 proposed residential units, 80% are proposed to have 2 or more bedrooms. The application was received in 2019. However, as with many rezoning projects in this area, the CAC dialogue spanned almost 2 years, finally reaching fruition in the spring of this year. The proposed development is comprised of a Splendor Point tower and accompanying podium, as seen here. The top portion of the tower tapers to form a visually legible finish to the building's composition. Along the internal side yard, the building is set back to provide a publicly accessible pedestrian mid-block access through the site between Georgia and Alberni Streets. This setback is outlined in red and complemented by a mirrored setback on the adjacent rezoning site. While the rezoning policy allows for consideration in Area A of towers that reach a height of 385 feet, the policy also specifies heights are subject to urban design analysis, with an emphasis on minimizing shadows on parks and open spaces. Marina Square Park is located 1 block to the north. As such, consideration was given to minimizing additional shadows cast on that park, as well as public use spaces. The height of this proposal is limited to 326 feet, which represents a reduction of almost 60 feet to maintain solar access on this public space. Here, the red outline indicates the proposed tower, and the blue outline a shadow from an existing building. The crown of 1698 West Georgia is further carved down and shaped such that the shadow falls within the existing shadows on the park. While the building will not contribute new shadows to the park itself, it does shadow the sidewalk adjacent to the park, as shown here in bright red, between 2:25 and 3 p.m. A pre-application open house was hosted by the applicant team in July of 2018 and attended by 46 individuals. The city-hosted open house was held in April of 2019. 67 members of the public attended, and the city received 18 comment sheets and 2 emails. Both the pre-application and rezoning open house were held prior to the COVID-19 epidemic and restrictions. As such, they were both hosted in person. Feedback included support for the building design, residential use on the site, and the use of CACs to fund West End public benefits. Concerns include the allocation of CACs, affordability of strata units, and the lack of commercial space at grade. If approved, the application would deliver DCL totaling approximately $5 million. The applicant has offered a cash CAC of $26.1 million under a phased payment approach, payable and secured as outlined in the staff report and described on the next slide, which will be allocated to support the delivery of West End public benefit strategy. If the rezoning application is approved, the applicant will be required to provide new public art on site or make a cash contribution to the city for off-site public art at an estimated value of $350,000. The applicant has offered a cash CAC of $26.1 million. Real estate services staff have reviewed the applicant's development pro forma and concluded that the total CAC value offered by the applicant is appropriate and support accepting it. If approved, the cash CAC will be allocated to support delivery of the West End Public Benefit Strategy. The community amenity contributions through rezoning policy currently allows for the city to consider deferring a portion of any cash CAC over $20 million until after rezoning enactment. The applicant's CAC offer proposes to defer the portion over $15.66 million and would be deviation and exception to the existing policy. A comparison of the current requirements and the CAC being offered by the applicant for 1616 to 1698 West Georgia Street is presented in this table. Under existing policy, $20 million would be due at enactment, with the remaining $6.1 million secured by letter of credit and surety bond. The applicant has proposed 60% or $15.66 million at enactment, with the remainder, $10.44 million, secured by surety bond. As part of the Restart Smart Vancouver initiative, in response to COVID-19, this project will contribute approximately 450 new on-site and off-site construction jobs during the initiative's recovery phase. In conclusion, the proposal meets the requirements of the West End Plan and the rezoning policy for the West End. Staff recommend the application be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B of the report. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. I believe the applicant team also has a presentation for us to view. The applicant team there. There we go. Great, we can see it on both screens whenever you're ready. Can't hear you yet, though. Applicant team, we still can't hear you. We can see your presentation, though.
Mayor, he just needs to unmute himself.
Right. Thank you.
Just contact him.
Still can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the rezoning application for 1616 to 1698 West Georgia Street. My name is Paul Fabish, and I'm on the development team at Anthem Properties. And along with myself and the Anthem team, tonight on the line, we have representatives from our consultant team. Next slide. The site is located on the southwest corner of West Georgia and Bidwell Streets in downtown Vancouver and lies within the West End Plan. This is a high visibility location on West Georgia between Stanley Park and the Central Business District. As mentioned by Leifka, the site was formerly used as a gas station, which was closed and decommissioned prior to Anthem acquiring the property in 2017. When we purchased the property, we tested for contamination and found levels acceptable for residential use. We applied for and received a certificate of compliance from the Ministry of Environment in 2018. Next slide. We wanted to talk a bit about the design inspiration of our proposed building. For this inspiration, we looked to the most prominent features of Vancouver's natural setting surrounding the site, the North Shore Mountains, lush green vegetation, and water. These elements are significant to the culture of Vancouver, and we drew inspiration from them to inform the design approach for the building. Next slide. This slide is showing how we've introduced some of these natural elements directly into the design. The building image on the left shows how the massing of the building mimics the stepping and terracing of local mountains. The image in the middle shows the integration of green vegetation, with every balcony having a planter and larger terrace planting incorporated where possible. And the image on the right shows how twisting metal fins are integrated into the window system on the tower to provide an organic and textural element. Next slide. This slide is showing the site plan of the building and the roof plan, showing the stepping of the building as well. Two key points on this slide to point out are regarding the height, which Leifka has addressed already, and the fact that we are able to build up to 385 feet on this site under the West End plan, but due to the shadow restrictions on Marina Square Park, that height has been reduced to 326 feet, so 59 feet under what is permitted. As well, the 127 market condo homes being proposed here have 80% as family units, with 80% of those units being 2 or 3 bedrooms. Next slide. This is a rendering of our tower from West Georgia and Bidwell looking to the east. This is showing the sculpting and terracing of the tower to evoke the local mountains and prevent shadowing on the park. This is also showing the use of solid masonry elements at the podium level and our 2-story water feature. Next slide. This is a close-up view of the building podium, highlighting the masonry elements and the waterfall. And this is also clearly showing planters on every balcony and some of the planting ledges attached to the podium. Next slide. Here we have a street level view showing the location of public art at the corner of Georgia and Bidwell. This art piece is a placeholder. We have worked with a selection panel made up of community members, artists, and city staff to select the public artists for this location. You can also see the main lobby entry off West Georgia to the left of the art, our parkade entry off Bidwell on the right, and this also shows the enhanced streetscape improvements that we will be providing on West Georgia and Bidwell, including planting, sidewalks, and bike lanes. Next slide. This is a street view from the east side of the site on Georgia, which highlights the new pedestrian connection that Leifka discussed. That will be built connecting Alberni to West Georgia. This connection is for pedestrians only and will be accessible for wheeled users as well. Next slide. This is a view of the Alberni Street side of the building looking to the west, showing the top of the Muse connection from West Georgia and the townhouses we have fronting Alberni and the Muse as well. Next slide. On the community benefits front, as Leifka mentioned, we've offered to provide a community amenity contribution to the city as part of the rezoning in the amount of $26.1 million. This is the first large all-cash CAC agreed to in the downtown in some time, and these funds will go towards one or more of the priorities identified in the West End plan, including social and market rental housing, creating additional childcare spaces, or renewing recreational facilities in the West End, such as the West End Community Center. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention to this rezoning application. Our team is here to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you so much. We do have questions. Remember, Council, this is your chance to ask questions to staff and the applicant. Councillor Carr, up to 5.
Great, thank you. Yes, I'm happy to hear the applicant note that this is the first large cash CAC contribution and in a long time in the West End, and I think the community is very interested in the process by which decisions might be made around how the cash CAC contribution will be allocated, i.e. to which projects. So I'm not sure if it's up to the applicant or to staff, but can someone describe for me what that process might look like and what that, in terms of determining the priorities for the cash CSE? Is the applicant involved? Is it a community process? Is it a staff process? And what would be the timing of that process?
Staff?
Yes, thank you for the question, Councillor Carr. We have staff on the line who can answer this from the Long Range Planning Group. Chris, go ahead.
Councillor Carr, it's Chris Clibben from Financing Growth. We use the four-year capital plan as the main vehicle for allocating CACs to capital projects. As you know, the capital plan comes to council, and in the capital plan is a specific list of projects seeking endorsement from council, including those projects that have CAC allocation. So as these cash CACs accrue, are deposited into the account and are accrued, staff will be coming forward in the next subsequent capital plans with projects using those CAC dollars.
So I know that in the previous capital plan, the West End Community Center and Library were certainly on that list. Can you remind me of anything else that was on the list that was in the West End plan?
Well, those are fairly big projects that require substantial CAC investments and matching tax supported dollars to make them realized. The first in this capital plan, I believe those are design studies towards the renewal of those facilities.
Right.
I believe there was also it may have been the Georgia Gateway would be another transportation related project. And there may have been one or two others that I'm afraid I don't have the information with me right now.
I'm wondering Gordon Neighborhood House. I can't remember if that
Yes,
was on
that rings a bell. Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. That's great. That's useful information, and I'm sure the public is interested in that too. Thank you. That's it for my questions, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much, Councillor Carr. We have Councillor Kirby-Young next.
Yeah, thank you. I'll direct my questions to the applicant. Councilor Carr already touched on my questions around the community amenities and if there's any certainty at this point in terms of providing information to the community of what they would be going to. So I'll direct a different question to the applicant, and it's really around, did I see wood cladding on the exterior of that building? And can you perhaps recap in terms of the sustainability and sort of green building standards and features of this building?
Hi, thank you for the question. We are not proposing any wood cladding on the exterior building. There is some solid masonry elements shown at the base along the podium area. As well, we have metal fins, which are sort of a twisting metal fin element that will be in the main part of the tower attached to the window system.
So those thinner sort of vertical lines, maybe it was just the light or how it hit in the renderings. They're metal. They're not wood.
That's correct. Yeah, they do have a sort of warm tone to them, so I could see how you would think they could be wood, but they are indeed. It'd be a painted metal.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. And can you just speak overall to sort of the level of sustainability and sort of greenness of this building?
Yes. So on the sustainability side, this tower is being developed on a brownfield redevelopment site, given its former use as a automobile service and gas station. And the building will be designed to meet City of Vancouver rezoning green building policy as a low emission green building. And so that will incorporate features such as air tightness levels, will meet certain requirements. There'll be a stormwater management system. There will be high performance glazing and as well energy efficient building systems and required energy use reporting.
Okay, any specific certifications the building will achieve?
Pardon me, what was that?
Are there any specific environmental certifications this building will achieve?
No, just we'll be following the rezoning green building requirements.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I don't have any other counselors on the list for questions. So now we're going to go to the public. Council, we've got just 1 second here. We have Thomas Palmer is the first registered speaker. Thomas Palmer.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can. I have up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Tom Palmer, and I reside in False Creek North. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at tonight's public hearing, and I'll keep my comments brief. So as I mentioned, I live and work in downtown Vancouver. I am an architect at a local firm. However, neither I nor the company I work for is involved in this particular project. That being said, I've spent many years living and working in a diverse West End downtown core community, and I'm very familiar with this location. I think I've even filled up at that gas station that was there before when I had a car. No longer have a car. I spent, with that in mind, my comments in support of this application come from these two perspectives. From a design point of view, I appreciate the creativity and attention to detail demonstrated by KPF Architects. It will be a very eye-catching and unique building that will add to the architectural excellence of Vancouver, especially at this gateway location just outside Stanley Park. Of particular interest to me was the creative use of the waterfall as a visual landscape feature, also a rainwater management device, and as an acoustical tool to reduce the apparent noise from the busy Georgia Street corridor. The extensive use of greenery throughout all levels of the slender tower is in keeping with its proximity to Stanley Park and with Vancouver's greenest city initiative. The height and the density of the building complements the existing towers and those currently under construction or planned for future development in the surrounding neighborhood. And from a housing perspective, with the majority of the units being 2- and 3-bedroom units, this development provides the welcome opportunity for families to live and work in the downtown core. The approximate $26 million in CAC or community amenity contributions is substantial and will provide funds for the ongoing need for parks, childcare facilities, community centers, and other amenities of the West End. Furthermore, the public art contribution of approximately $350,000 is significant and will support the tradition of excellence of public art in Vancouver. In conclusion, I believe it is a well-rounded project that will enhance the West End architecturally, provide homes for families in the downtown core, and contribute significantly to local community amenities, art, and infrastructure. The project has my support, and I hope that Council will see fit to move it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't see any questions for you, so I want to thank you so much for coming in this evening. I'm going to move to the next speaker. The next speaker, Council, is Corey Colville.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Sure can. Up to 5 minutes, please go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I firstly want to communicate that I believe this is an exceptional proposal from a phenomenal developer, and I fully support it. And kudos to the project team for doing something terrific. I'm a resident of Vancouver. I live across the street from this proposal on Bayshore Drive. And I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. Never called into the council to express my views before, but I think I really feel passionate about this project and the situation that our downtown is facing right now. I think this tower should be at least 60 stories and not 33. And we're not doing this site its full justice and service. This location is absolutely extraordinary. And I would go as far as to say the purpose of our transit infrastructure is to bring people to a location like this at the gateway to Stanley Park. If we're taller, we're also more beautiful. We can hold more people in this building, and we're fundamentally talking about shelter. And that should be a huge goal for the city. We have a major, major problem with housing availability. Forget affordability. Affordability is done and gone. We're talking about availability. There are tall towers pushing 70 stories being built in immature suburbs. And here we are in the crown jewel of our region, Vancouver, talking about shadow policy handicapping the views, handicapping the potential of our projects. We're talking about shadows on a park. And this park, by the way, I live across the street from it. I'm looking out the window at this park. And this park is nothing more than some grass that dogs urinate on top of a parkade. This park is not special. I hope that some of the CAC money could be used for this park, by the way. But even if we didn't talk about 60 stories and we only talked about pushing it to 385 feet, we would be talking about housing 50 more people on this site. And I bet that CAC number would be incrementally larger and could do more for our community. So, that noted, when I listened to the staff presentation, I was deeply disturbed when I heard this. CAC negotiation has been going on since 2019. As a resident of this neighborhood and city, it just disturbs me to understand that this has been hung up negotiating a pro forma for 2 years. I cannot imagine the stress that this has taken financially on the developer. And as a resident of this neighborhood, I wish this project was in the ground and that CAC money was paying for safety and security patrols in my neighborhood. We're talking about fixing up this West End Community Center great. We're talking about improving the public realm, making Georgia, making Alberni a little bit more walkable, a little bit more beautiful. But above and before all of that, what I really want is for my wife to feel safe walking at night right outside of our home. We have a big problem in the downtown. We're a 15-minute bicycle ride away from that Strathcona Park. And we've had serious problems. People with axes breaking into our underground parkade, people living in fear. And I want some of that CAC money targeted toward law and order. We need security patrols in our neighborhood. And finally, I just want to throw it back to the project itself. And I want to talk about that design. It's moving. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. It speaks to the culture of our city and who we are as a people. I think one of the most phenomenal projects that's been built in the past 20 years in Vancouver has been M&P Tower. And KPF as a design architect is one of the world's finest. And when you go down West Hastings, looking west into the central business district, and you see M&P Tower, the perfect canvas for marine, I feel like this proposal on the former Chevron gas station that has been remediated, a wasteland. What's been proposed here is breathtaking. I love it. It's elegant. It's understated. And this is also coming in a proposal node where there's all these other projects proposed to come out of the ground. One looks like a George Jetson tower. Another one's designed to look like a couple of tree stumps. This stuff is tacky. This stuff is gimmicky. And it's meant to appeal to this nouveau riche class that I don't feel represents the culture of our city. This project represents the culture of our city. I just wish it was a little bit taller. And I wish we weren't talking about a 5,500 square foot floor plate. I don't know why it's not at least a 7,500 square foot floor plate. We need more shelter. We need more space. And if we have all these conflicting policies and procedures and ideas and notions that we're debating, I think that there's a huge opportunity here just to focus on the basics. We need to house people, and this is a terrific place to do it, right at the gateway to Stanley Park. So one final note, I want to provide.
You do have questions. You do have questions, and the first question from Councillor Hardwick. Go ahead, Councillor Hardwick, up to 5 minutes.
Yes, I'm glad to hear you're a neighbor. Do you work in the real estate industry?
Absolutely, just like about 20% of this people in the beautiful region do. I also volunteer in the real estate industry for a not-for-profit housing society, and I feel very passionate about providing shelter to everybody.
Thank you.
Councillor Kirby-Young, up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming to speak for the first time to council. I appreciate hearing your comments, and you're clearly passionate about the project. I want to pick up on one comment you made with respect to being a neighbor in the area and sort of safety concerns and issues in the downtown core that we're hearing a lot about. Do you think, and you mentioned sort of the, I think you said you had people breaking into sort of attempting break-ins with access into your area. Do you think that without getting a handle on the safety issues, real and psychological for people, that we're going to start seeing people not wanting to live in projects like this, whether they're strata or whether they're rental in the area?
I think that there's a risk, but I don't believe the risk is real if the city does the right things and steps up law and order. I feel like there's going to be a revival of our core once we get tourism back, once vibrancy back, once we're out of lockdown and vaccinated. When that happens, the downtown's going to thrive again. I believe it fully. But there's a window of huge risk, and that risk might tarnish the brand that is downtown. So in the interim period, we need to go above and beyond with law and order.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Okay, and if we don't, what do you predict? Do you still predict a rosy future of people still living in sort of compact, walkable downtown?
There's fear. There's absolutely fear. Almost every night on the news, there's a story about someone from the Howard Johnson Hotel causing a problem, someone breaking into a home in Yaletown, someone breaking into a parkade, and generally people living in fear. And that fear, it may be somewhat misplaced and misguided, but there are real incidents occurring. There is a serious problem with drug addiction in the city, and it's causing daily occurrences of petty crimes that are of the fear-driven variety. And I feel like with increased patrols, it may do something to alleviate a little bit of that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here to speak tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Speaker. There are no other questions for you, so did want to thank you for calling in this evening. Council, that is the last registered speaker on this list. I'm going to call a first time for other speakers to this item. 1-833-353-8610, code 1061-445 pound to get on the list. Clerks, do we have anybody else on the line?
We have one additional speaker on the line, Mayor.
Great. Speaker, if you could let us know your name and whether or not you're a resident of Vancouver, then you can go for up to 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Tom Dare, and good evening, Mayor and Councillors. I live actually just right across the street.
Okay.
At 581 Cardero Street. And I'm generally supportive of the proposal, but I'd also like to acknowledge, appreciate, and respect that we are on the coastal Salish land. And living in the Cole Harbour area, north of Georgia Street, well, I feel like I live in the West End. So I'm in the Cole Harbour area for the city designations, but feel like I live in the West End, and I got the notice. This is something that's apparently shared in the site analysis. The previous speaker spoke about the shadowing study of the Cole Harbour Marina Sort of Park, which takes a broader view in referencing only which looks at from the West End, but is actually in the Cole Harbour. So I think the city could really benefit by looking a little broader view when it comes to the community amenities agreement, which the previous speaker mentioned as well, even though he's in Cole Harbour as well. I don't believe it applies. Even the actual developer mentions things in Cole Harbour. The Cole Harbour Community Centre School project, as the project is for families. It's a great looking building. And I actually agree it could have been taller. It shows quite a bit of restraint. And that's notwithstanding the shadowing study. I don't really buy that. I think the park is more than just for dogs. There's people that are actually in that park fairly regularly. So more floors could be more communities amenities agreement money, or social housing included in the actual building project. I live in a PAL building, which is actually a nonprofit building. And so the nature of that is there are others in the hood. There's the co-op across the way here on Cordero. There's the PAL building. There could be others in the hood with some more height. It could be developed into this, which I'll get onto with the community's amenity agreement, because I don't think you're hitting your targets there. I also think it took quite a while to get to where this is now. But I don't experience the previous caller's fear of walking around the streets here. It's a safe neighborhood. It's actually quite quiet. And this brings me to the first point about the project being classified as family-oriented. And given school projects that take even longer time than just a simple rezoning of a 26-story building property, that the timeline for the development of that school project over at the Cole Harbour Community Center needs to, which has associated social housing, be fast-tracked, because school projects take forever, and look how long this project takes. I also wanted to notice that the neighborhood amenities agreement in the PAL Theatre, it indicates neighborhood amenities, but the PAL Theatre isn't listed at 581 Cordero, which is a rooftop theater just across the street. And the residents of the new building will be able to look down upon the amazing garden on the top of the building. Now, I also live in the area, and I've really got a question about Bidwell and Georgia itself. I think it might be best to just look at closing off Bidwell and Georgia. That's not a particularly busy corner now, and I don't think it would hurt to do that, or potentially just have the developer put the money into the infrastructure underground, which I believe they are required to do per 2.7G and 2.9. And any money they save by not having to do that could be added to the CAC, because then it could be used in the West End or maybe Cole Harbour. If the clerk could pull up the Appendix F on page 1 for the screen, that's actually the West End project guide that was mentioned by Councillor Carr earlier. It would then, anybody else listening could actually see that on their screen. So under the Appendix F,
okay,
there's money for heritage, 10% of the 2.6 million, but that actually is indicated as not applicable under the West End plan. So I wonder what the 2.6 million, with the 10% of the 26.1 million, where it's going. Hello?
Well, hi, we're still listening. Go ahead.
Okay.
Actually, you are at your 5 minutes though. But Councillor Hardwick has a question for you. Go ahead, Councillor Hardwick.
Hello, Tom.
Colleen.
You've had some very interesting and very detailed comments here. Did you provide those in writing to council prior to this public hearing?
No, I just came on tonight. First time, actually. I'm a first timer.
It would just be really valuable if you would. I know we're making a decision tonight, but for future reference, since this is your rookie tour, maybe in the future you could provide comments up front, because I found your comments to be very helpful. On the whole, though, you support this proposed development. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's just color me skeptical about the use of the community amenities funds, because I think there's 2 points in those community amenities funds. There's 10% and 10% for transportation, public realm, and social facilities that are indicated as accomplished, but I think that's money from actually other levels of government.
In terms of height and massing, we heard another speaker say that this should go higher, but then we've heard from the proponent that it has actually come down a little bit in respect of shadow concerns and things of that nature. Do you have any opinion on the height and massing?
I think the actual shape of the building and the massing is very nice, except for the transportation thing at the corner of Georgia and Bidwell, which I think could be reconsidered. But I don't think that the shadowing for that park is a major issue. And if you can get more money towards community amenities by a taller building, I think that's worthwhile.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your input and for joining us this evening.
Thanks so much. That's it for questions for you. Appreciate you calling in this evening. Clerks, I'm going to do my second call now for speakers to this item. Are there any other people on the line?
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Thanks. So I'm going to make my third and final call, Council. The numbers are on the screen and on the live stream on Twitter. And it is 8:38, so we're going to come back at 8:43 to finish with this item. I will see you in 5 minutes, Council. Okay, clerk's just checking. Has anybody else phoned in?
We have one additional speaker, Mayor.
Great, thanks so much. Speaker, if you could let us know your name and whether you're a resident of Vancouver, that would be great. Speaker, are you there? Okay, clerk's just checking. Has anybody else phoned in? We have one additional speaker. Great, thanks so much. Speaker, if you could let us know your name and whether you're a resident of Vancouver, that would be great. Speaker, you have to turn down your the volume of the meeting. Speaker, are you there? Okay, Chris is checking if anybody else phoned in. You want to additional speaker. Great, thanks so much. Speaker, if you could let us know your name and whether you're a resident of Vancouver, that would be great. Speaker, you have to turn down your volume of the meeting. Speaker, are you there? Clerk, so maybe we could help the speaker. Hello? Hi there. Thanks for calling in. Could you let us know your name and whether you're a resident of Vancouver? Hello? You guys hear me? We can. We just need to know your name and whether you're a resident of Vancouver.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, my name's Orlando. I live across the street on 1723 Alberni.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have my opinion of the height and the park. I do have strong opinions on that. I think we should definitely consider building it higher. I don't understand why it's such an important thing that the park should not be shadowed. I go to the park very often, and it's very underutilized. In fact, in the summertime when it is highly utilized, the sun's already really high up in the sky anyways. So I don't think the building would actually affect the shadowing on that. So the rest of the year, when it's not used, pretty much just used by dogs and a few random people here and there, I think it's kind of dumb to salvage, to not, restrict the height of that building, because some dogs, there's a couple of people in the wintertime or, 8 months of the year won't have full sunshine anyways. And not to mention it's cloudy that time of the year anyways. The other thing I want to add is you have to consider, too, the buildings around the area. You have possibly, a lot of redevelopments that are going to be the full 385 feet high. And it will kind of dumb if you have one building that's a little bit shorter than the rest. It kind of won't really fit into the landscape all that well. If you consider 10, 20 years down the road when most of the buildings in the area are redeveloped to the full height. So I think it will be kind of like a mistake to not maximize. And it also makes sense that the other people, they said that, we get more CACs. That makes sense. I'm not going to speak to what those should be used for, but I really think restrictions are pretty short-sighted in my opinion. And I want to emphasize that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's fine. No, that's it for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. You don't have any questions, so appreciate you calling in this evening. Clerks, anybody else on the line?
No additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thanks so much. Then we're going to close the speakers list, and we're going to close the public comments, and going to ask the applicant if they have any closing comments.
No closing comments. Just thank you very much for your time and attention this evening.
Thanks. The staff have any closing comments?
Staff have no closing comments. Thank you for your time, Council.
Thanks. Questions from council to staff? Councillor Carr, up to 5.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm just going to do a bit of follow-up on the community amenities. I used a bit of the 5-minute time that we had to wait for speakers to look up the capital plan, as you indicated would be the direction, and noted that there is $3 million to design a next fire hall to be determined. So if this money is in place, could this be Fire Hall number 6 on Nelson Street?
Thank you, Councillor Carr, for your question. We have Chris Clibben on the line to answer.
It's Chris Clibben from Planning, Finance and Growth. The fire hall, it's a relocation project, Councillor Carr, going from its current location to the eventual site of the West End Community Centre.
Right.
And the works in the community, in the current capital plan, is part of the broader design and planning for the West End Community Centre. That's underway.
Okay. So yes, I noticed that there's 5.3 million for planning and studies for renewal of civic facilities. And my next question was going to be, could that be the West End Community Center, which also includes the Joe Fortes Library and the fire hall? So that's where it could happen.
Yeah, the West End Community Center is it's a renewal, a significant renewal and expansion program where we are using CAC dollars to seed and fund partially that project, but it will include the community center, the library, the fire hall, and the childcare center.
Right. Okay. Good to know. I also noted that in the capital plan is a $3 million specifically noted for Butte Greenway and the Helmkin Comox Greenway extension. So feasibly, could CACs arising from this be used towards those projects?
I think those are that plan is that's a project already in the current capital plan. So there's funding already assigned to that specific project. These funds arising from the decision today the funds would be deposited into the reserve for the next capital plan. So there'd be a new set of projects that would be identified when we do the 2023 to 2026 capital plan in the West End that we would allocate those dollars to.
Okay, I look forward to that project.
You're frozen, Councillor Carr. Oh. Councillor Carr has dropped off. I'm just going to go to my question, Council, and then we'll bring Councillor Carr back on when she's done. I have a question.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Stewart, Councillor DeGenovese, you could add me to the list, please, but sorry.
Thank you. I have a question for staff regarding the height to the building. Oh, I see Councillor Carr, you're frozen again. Staff, I'm just wondering, was the height of the building curtailed just because of the shadowing policy? Is that why it's at the height it is?
Leaf Kavisters rezoning planner, that's correct. The West End policy plan would have enabled the building up to 385 feet in height. However, that was dependent on other factors. In this case, the limiting factor was shadowing of Marina Square Park, which resulted in almost a 60-foot reduction in height, as well as further tapering of the building below that reduction.
Right. And could we approve extra height this evening during this public hearing process?
Thank you for the question, Mayor. This is Teresa O'Donnell. I think if we wanted to do that tonight, it would probably be best if we refer it back to staff because the CAC would have to be recalculated.
Okay. Thanks so much. That's it for questions from me. I've got Councillor DeGenova and Councillor Carr. I see you're back on, but you have, we'll go to Councillor DeGenova first. Councillor DeGenova.
Okay, I'm happy to go, but also understand Councillor Carr was kind of cut off her time. Happy to let her go first, whatever.
No, I'll wait because I'd be happy to move this. So I'll wait. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. Just a question to staff and thanks for answering the question that this would actually be, these funds would be earmarked for the next capital plan. But in looking at and not having right in front of me right now what has been reallocated from the capital plan, considering COVID and the adjustments to our budget, is there any chance that in fact we could see monies in this capital plan or this put towards this capital plan, if that was even realistic? And what I mean by this capital plan is the items in this capital plan that otherwise might not have been funded.
And then it would have to be negotiated.
Thank you for the question, Councillor DeGenova. We have Chris Clibben on the line to answer that question.
Councillor DeGenova, it's Chris Clibben. The midterm capital plan update was brought to council not very long ago, probably 2 or 3 months ago, and council approved the set of projects to be funded in the back half of the capital plan. Those projects are fully funded. We have CAC dollars in the reserve, we have DCL dollars in the reserve, we have property tax funding all lined up to fund those projects. So if you were to add new capital plan items, that's a different process that would involve bringing something back to council and advocating for new capital works and a funding strategy.
Of course, and that was just my follow-up to Councillor Carr's question. Considering we were looking at this, but just to clarify and for public record, because we are in a quasi-judicial setting, and because I'm asked often, why does it take the city so long sometimes to spend the money? We do look at earmarking those funds for our next capital plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're in terms of the dollars we collect in CACs and DCLs, we're just about starting to nest away dollars for the next capital plan, so that we enter into the next capital plan with a healthy reserve, so that we can fund projects with dollars collected at the tail end of this capital plan. And then, of course, we will continue to accrue dollars in the during the next capital plan to help land the projects in the next capital plan and the capital plan beyond.
Thanks very much. And my next question is about the family room housing mix policy, just to give staff a heads up. Through the mayor, just wondering if in-board or borrowed light bedrooms were considered, for this specific application, if the applicant considered them, or if staff had suggested that at all in looking at finding ways to create more affordable and spacious housing for families.
Staff?
Councillor DeGenova, could you please repeat the question?
I could, but Mayor Stewart, do I need to move for another round of questions?
Oh, just go ahead and ask the question. Just go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I was just wondering if the applicant or staff at any point in the planning process, and I can't ask the applicant this, but if staff could comment on if there was any consideration here for in-board or borrowed light bedrooms to provide extra living space that also had light borrowed, as we've talked about in a number of the housing policies that have come forward, as creating a solution for families and more affordable options.
Thank you for the question, Councillor DeGenova. This is Leafka Vissers, rezoning planner. Staff do not support in-board bedrooms on strata development.
Okay, so this was not something that was considered, and we would only support that for rental right now. Is that correct?
For affordable housing. In this case, staff did not support or consider in-board bedrooms.
Okay, thank you very much. Those are my questions for now.
Thank you. Councillor Carr, you have about 2 minutes left.
Yes, Mayor. I actually don't have any more questions.
Oh, okay.
Sorry for dropping up, but I'm quite happy to move the recommendations.
Great. You have a second?
Councillor DeGenova.
Okay, thank you, Councillor DeGenova. Now we're in the debate queue. Councillor Carr?
Yeah, so I'm going to make some comments first, Mayor, that really have to do with the project. We haven't talked much about it, but I just want to note that this is actually quite a stunning building. I think some of the speakers made note of that as well. It is a gateway into our city. There's a lot of people who come in over the Lions Gate Bridge down Georgia. So it's, I think it's positioned to really kind of showcase or show off not just the West End, but our city as a whole. I really like the waterfall feature. I mean, it was mentioned by the applicant in the introduction, but it is quite stunning. And just the whole design of the building, I think, is one that is very it is just Vancouver, speaks Vancouver. I also like the very generous planting, the planter box, that there are, the greenery is incorporated into it. And of course, my final point is really about the cash CACs, and having been very involved in the West End community plan. Um, there's been a very long wait by the residents of the West End for developments that provide the cash CACs that can then provide the community amenities, renewal and update that they have so long waited for. So I'm super excited about that. Certainly looking forward to the process of engaging the community on that. Although I know that it's going to come through capital planning. I think that they've, communications to the community are very much warranted because of, I know certainly the patience which is wearing thin at times, for the renewal of the very, very important facilities like the West End Community Center and the library and the pool and the fire hall and the Greenway projects, the neighborhood house, the things that really mean a lot to the people who live in the West End. So I'm very pleased to offer my support here.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Weeb.
Yeah, I'll also be in support, and I also want to talk about the architecture. I think that we need to figure out more ways to include this type of integration of our mountains and greenery into projects and create that West Coast design and look. I think it's really well done. I appreciate that this park is not being shadowed. They followed within all the guidelines, that the accessibility was included on the muse, and so I'm very supportive and really appreciate the architect and proponent's ability to work with our team and the creativeness on bringing in the CAC package. I think it's going to work well for the community, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weeb. I've put myself on the list, so Councillor Fry, if you could take the chair, give me my 5 minutes, that'd be great.
Sure thing, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. I'll start my own timer. Council, I think this is a good project. I have a referral motion typed up, but I'm not going to send it to send staff back and look at extra height for this building. I do agree with some of the callers that we only have so many opportunities to densify a downtown, and this would have been a good one. I do agree with council that I think the CACs are needed downtown. However, I am a bit wary of the fact that a shadowing policy cut 60 feet off this building. I'm hoping that in the future, if we have kind of choices to make like this, we don't take the policy as law, which it isn't, and that staff would consult with local residents through the regular process to see if there'd be any flexibility in the application of the shadowing policy. So to ask and say, there's a shadowing policy that keeps this 60 feet lower, would you be okay if we waived it in this particular case? So I won't send the amendment because I realize this application has been in process for quite a long time. Council does seem to be mostly in favor of this, but again, I worry about missing opportunities. But congratulate the applicant for such a good project, and that's it. That's all I have to say. So, Councillor Chair Fry, happy to take the chair back.
Please, over to you.
Thanks, Councillor Swanson. Up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me. The amenities are good. It looks like there's almost $250,000 per condo unit for amenities, so that's good. But the affordability is non-existent, and I really struggle with building all this housing that's only for people who can afford $1 million condos. So that's where I'm struggling here. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Swanson. I don't see any other councillors on the queue to speak, so we'll move to a vote.
Point of privilege, Chair?
Yeah,
Is
Councillor,
Councillor to get a vote assist in favor, please?
thank you very much. Councillor Dominato and Weep. Okay, council, that has passed with none in opposition. And great, so that's up on screen. Thank you very much, council. Okay, we are done this evening. And if you could have the motion to adjourn, Councillor Hardwick.
Motion to adjourn.
Excellent, well said. Seconder, Councillor Dejanova, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, thank you very much, council. This public hearing's adjourned, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Thanks, clerks. Thanks, staff.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, staff.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Oh.